As soon as the Summer League action wraps up out west. Well, what is going on with Kawhi Leonard? We heard from Jabbar Young, who covers the Spurs for the San Antonio Express News, for the most up-to-date rumors on where he is or is not going.
I think as long as Kawhi Leonard is in the San Antonio Spurs' property, he's under contract. As long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always some hope that things can be repaired. Obviously, he's probably being kept, in the loop as far as what the Spurs are going to probably be trying to do in regards to trying to trade him, which he's requested. But at the same time, they're also sending signals like, listen, we still want to work this out. So if we get down to the wire and all of a sudden, Kawhi, you have a change of heart, let's sit down, let's talk, let's try to work it out. And I think also Kawhi has to also, in his head, he has to be prepared to possibly come back here for another season, because if the Spurs don't find a deal that's good enough for them, they don't pull that trigger. And I don't blame them for not pulling that trigger. It has to be a win-win for both parties. It just can't be a one-sided thing. Kawhi Leonard is under contract. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar player. The Spurs are not going to give him up for anything. And so he has to honor that deal. And I don't think he'll sit out. I know all that, the rumblings have been sitting out. I don't think that's going to happen. So, again, as long as he's in the Spurs program, as long as he hasn't been traded yet, there's always room for things to be worked out, even if it's slim. When training camp comes around, I believe Kawhi Leonard is going to be 100%. Again, I don't see him sitting out. I don't think he'll use that tactic to do that. It will diminish his value significantly, and he understands that. So I don't think that's the case at all, unless the injury is that bad again. And then if it's that bad, then also you diminish your value, and also people start to look at this and say, wait a minute, maybe the Spurs were smart to not give him that max contract. Maybe the people were smart to not give up all these assets. So again, I don't think Kawhi uses that. I think he will be 100% come training camp with any team that he's with.
All right, thanks to Jabbar Young again from the San Antonio Express News. Billy King, Greg Anthony. We talked earlier in the show on whether you believe the Lakers should provide that Godfather-type offer to the Spurs in exchange for Kawhi Leonard. But what about teams in the Eastern Conference? Now that LeBron, who has dominated the East for 8 straight years going to the finals, GA, what about Boston? What about Philly? Teams who haven't made big moves. They've had to make some minor moves here in the first couple of days of free agency. Should they be pretty aggressive?
I would be. Listen, I think if you're Boston, it's not just about being the favorites to win the East. You want to have a chance to actually win it. Mm-hmm. And as much as you love their young talent, to assume that they're good enough to win it, I think would be a bit of fool's gold. I love Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but they're not at the level of Kawhi Leonard. And I just think if you could make a deal to get Kawhi Leonard, if you're the Celtics or the Sixers, you now get yourself to a point where you could potentially win it all. And that's why I think those two teams should be in that mix.
Well, I think the Celtics, I think Danny Ainge believes that they are good enough to compete with Golden State. So he's thinking, getting Gordon Hayward back, getting Kyrie back, that they're going to be okay. I think the Sixers are a team that need that piece. They need Kawhi Leonard to go along with Simmons, to go along with Embiid. So for them, I think it makes much more sense because you add that piece, and Brett Brown coached him, so he knows him, right. And maybe he stays there, and now you've got those three to go long term. So I think it's more imperative for the Sixers, but I think they can't give away so much, and he leaves and hurts their franchise. So that's one thing I think. There was a report out there, I think, where they're asking 3 first-round picks from the Sixers. And to me, I don't think they do that. So I think that both teams are going to be patient because both of them know that they're on the cusp. Sixers made the second round. Boston thinks we got that far without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward, so we're going to be good.
See, I disagree with you on this, though, Billy, because if I'm Boston or Philly, it's just like when you made your deal for LeBron. If I get Kawhi Leonard on that Sixers roster, those first-round picks aren't lottery picks. Yeah. They're late first-round picks. I can withstand that for 3 years. Right. My core, he would be my oldest, best player at 27.
Right.
My other 2 guys are early 20s. I can live with that deal. And if again, those 3 picks may not ever resort in a player of the caliber, and it won't allow you to compete for a championship today. And I have the same scenario with Boston. Boston has a really, really good team. But with Kawhi and Gordon Hayward, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward coming back, they're still going to have to shuffle that lineup some. And now they're going to go in with a different mindset. They're going to have the expectation factor over their head. They're not going to be the really good story anymore. And when you have expectations, things change. You see teams differently now. I just think if either of those teams has a chance to pull the trigger, I think you almost have to. I think he could be a difference maker. Now, the question is, can you re-sign him? That's the bigger
Well,
issue.
didn't Paul George show us something? Right?
Well, yeah, but
He was
Paul
packed
George
his
is Paul
bags for the
George.
Lakers,
and,
right.
and also, Paul George never said he was going to L.A. That's what all the speculation was. And again, same thing with
no,
Kawhi
I
Leonard.
mean,
I haven't heard. He said he liked it, but I never heard him say, I'm going to L.A. I never heard that.
But he said his dream was to play in L.A., right? And
But also, I think the difference is Oklahoma City was a team that, they had been winning for a long time. So the culture was already set of a team that had been to the
But doesn't a
finals.
team like Boston have to believe in their culture to say that if we give up a lot to get Kawhi, we can use these 12 months as a recruiting pitch as opposed to maybe one phone call in free agency?
Yeah, but I think Boston feels they've got all these pieces there, so they don't have. The Sixers, on the other hand, to give up 3 picks, and also you're going to give up some players. Sarge and like that. So to me, that's a lot, especially if you know he's not going to stay.
Well, that's the issue. If I got the guarantee that he's going to re-sign, if I'm Philly, I could absolutely make that deal.
Well, stay tuned. It's been a busy start to free agency. We
2
may get
first-rounders.
ourselves
Okay.
a
2.
And give them the Miami
time
2021. That Miami pick in there.
December
There
of
you go.
17. Well, LeBron James is off to L.A., but what's left behind in Cleveland? Kevin Love is still there. Should Kevin Love be
logo?
dealt, or should the Cavs bring him back?
Did you say the logo's still there?